have Cynthia Addai-Robinson. We have Jon Bernthal. And last but certainly not least, we have Ben Affleck. All right now.
Right.
Hi, you guys. How are you?
Good.
Congratulations on an incredible film. Thanks. She's like, thank you. I did it myself. Definitely not. Okay, so I'm gonna start off with you two right here. In this film, we see you guys. I found it interesting because I feel like fighting becomes your love language in this movie, and your chemistry is so organic as brothers. Is there something that you guys did off screen to build that relationship? Like, or is it just good acting and you guys actually hate each other?
Really neither one of those things. It's actually just get lucky, you know. Whether you have to have chemistry with someone. I think it's
started sort of busting each other and making fun of each other, and really sort of diving into the 8-year kind of hiatus and what that sort of meant, the given circumstances, without being a total cheese dick about it. But like, you know, and it just kind of really worked, and it was, and going to work was really fun every day with him. And I genuinely, you know, again, excuse me for the cheese dick thing, but I think the best part of this business is the people that you meet along the way, and sometimes you get to leave with real genuine friends, and it just happens to be somebody that I really admire and look up to, and it's a real gift for me.
Wow, round of applause. That was beautiful. So was a lot of your scenes improv? And if so, was there a moment that stood out that you're like, we kind of ate that? That was really good.
We kind of what? Ate that?
We ate that.
I thought John had a lot of great improvisations. Like you know, so it was written. All the stuff was like written in terms of setups and what was going to kind of happen. But then sort of how we played with it and flowed. You know, Gavin definitely made us feel like we had a sense of freedom. I think it works best when you don't feel kind of tied to the lines, like you have to do it, but actually it's sort of the way you kind of end up wanting to do it, or you're sort of making the right freedom to make the right choice in a weird way. But it just was one of those where I couldn't tell where the line was sort of blurred between what was, you kind of forgot what was in the script and what we ended up finding in the scene, but we definitely would then keep on going towards what was working.
Yeah.
See, that's why we get along.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Just nod and smile, nod and smile.
It's just my pretty eye candy, arm candy.
Ben, there's the dating scene, the speed dating scene, which was one of my favorites. And I found it interesting. First of all, we need more men that transparent in the dating world, because it would just make everything a lot smoother. Yeah, we can clap on that. Hello? But I love that you didn't conform. You stayed true to yourself. Your character stayed true to yourself. And then we see you kind of, I won't say conform, but like try to get the attention of the girl in the bar when you're line dancing. Why do you think your character was so attracted to her and not anyone in the beginning scene at the speed dating?
Well, you know, it's sort of a, I'll say it's something that's going to end up getting taken out of context, but I think for all people, there's some element of mystery in terms of like, it feels like we're just attracted to who we're attracted to, and you know, I suppose there's psychologists who will say like, point out, you know, something from your childhood or whatever it may be, but I think to people in general, it feels like we don't really control who it is that we're drawn to. We're sort of drawn to those people. That's hard to answer in terms of why that character, not these other ones, but what was really interesting for it to me was, yes, there's challenges in particular for this character in terms of trying to figure out the sort of opaque, coded hieroglyphics of, you know, flirting, dating, sending a signal. What does that mean? Did I say the wrong thing? But I think that's like all good sort of scenarios. It really is just written in high relief, something that I think most people go through, because like right before, you're like, hey, we need more men who are transparent. So that says to me that you're also finding it a little bit mysterious to be like, what the fuck is this supposed to mean? And what is he talking about? Am I supposed to like that? Is that the right thing? You know, there's an element of that we all feel, because it is a strange, vulnerable, like dance, you know, of don't give too much away, or they're gonna think I like them too much and they won't like me, or I shouldn't say that, you know, we get in our own heads about that. And that was one of the beautiful things about that scene for line dancing. That you could see how Jon was really rooting for me not to fuck it up. You know what I mean? And be like, oh, see there, you know, and he's trying to you know, but one of the beautiful things about this character, and one of the things that I really wanted to bring to it that I've seen in life is the honesty that's present. Like, I think that's just such a wonderful quality that is often present in people on the spectrum, which is like, they don't either see the need or just are not apt to bullshit or lie or put on a mask. So you ask them a question, they'll tell you the truth. The thing about us as human beings is we often ask questions we don't really want the truth to, you know, or we want the truth if it's what we want to hear. And so sometimes that doesn't work in the meeting people, dating context. And that's, you know, it's like, that wasn't the right song to say, and that wasn't, but the joy of it is then having Jon there trying to pull for me and feeling the pain for me, and that's what I love about that, because it's sort of emblematic of what I love about this whole movie, which is, yes, it's these specific people in these specific circumstances, but I feel like everybody can kind of empathize and connect to the feeling that we all have, which is to want to connect with one another and build and develop meaningful relationships with our family, with the people we love, with the people that we have romantic love for. Like, that's what we spend a lot of our time caring about. We're not lonely. It's a lonely species. We want to connect and be with one another. But like, that's hard. And sometimes when it's your family, it's really fucking hard. You know what I mean? Because like, we love you, and why do you get on my nerves more than anybody else?
Speaking of wanting to connect, we see your character, who looks as hard as nails like when you first see him, but then we see him also breaking down, trying to get the dog, and we see him stopping the bus to get the cat. So it's like, where does that sensitivity come from, having a militant dad and a neurodivergent brother? Like, where does that come from for your character? Or do you just really love animals?
No, I think you said it. I just think, I think it's like a real, it's just a real false narrative out there that you can't be both, that you can't be, extraordinarily tough or tactically proficient and also be extraordinarily vulnerable and sensitive. I think without only those that have really felt pain really can have any relationship sort of with violence, or you have to kind of get hurt first, I think. And I just see exactly what you said, the way that he grew up. I mean, what's so cool about this for me is that in the first film, you see the backstory, you see how they grew up, and you see that, the roles that they had to play, and you see that they really only had each other, and what that meant, and how the longing for a connection, the longing for a companion, and look, this, you might be asking, why did you wait, 8.5 years or however long it was for this sequel? But that is precisely what this character is going through. Like, where have you been? Why haven't you? And it's something that I think is sort of top of mind for him always, and it's this big giant hole,
Do you have a brother in real life?
I do.
Were you tapping into that to get into this character and how much you miss your brother and love your brother?
Yeah. I mean, I love my brothers. I love my best friends. Yeah. But it's also just this, Ben. Like, I just think, again, sorry, dude, but I just think that, I think his work in this movie is so extraordinary, and it's so, he would just literally frustrate the hell. I mean, and then I'd like kind of laugh at him, and you kind of love him, but he's also just frustrates the snot out of you. So like, I think I think this relationship is this relationship,
Beautiful. I love it. Hello, Cynthia. Oh, hi. Hi. So for Marybeth, we see her in the original film, you see her very kind of green to her job, and then in the second one, you see her much more badass. She's showing up, she's taking up space, she's being very decisive, making decisions. How did you approach this film differently than the first one with the 8-year gap, and just being more dominant in this role?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, when I've been asked about my approach, I mean, so much of it's already on the page, it's sort of dictated by the writing and sort of the decisions about how to take this story, 8 years down the line. But I think when 8 years in real life pass, you can't help but just bring that growth. Like, it's just there, it's like a no acting required situation. And I think what I always found really compelling was the Marybeth Medina of the first movie was really somebody that just wanted to keep her head down. In an ideal world, she could just be an analyst, just be one of many, not necessarily stand out in any way, and try to just keep her head down and hope to progress in her career. And what's interesting is I always thought, well, she, out of everybody, is the one that gets plucked by Ray King, JK's character. So there was that extra something. In addition to her sort of her record, I think there was also some other quality that made her uniquely qualified and the one to be selected out of many. So here she is 8 years later, she's in this deputy director position, but now the new thing to consider is, would I have gotten here on my own merit? If I'd never been that chosen one and I just worked really hard, could I be deputy director just through the hard work? Or is it because I get these tips? Is it because I have this sort of leg up? So I always thought that imposter syndrome thing was quite interesting, because that's a very relatable thing and many people feel that way. And I think what's great about this story, even for genre, something that might be a little bit more heightened than real life, it's the relatable aspects. I think it's what's made the original movie endure and want people to kind of return to this sequel. It's like there are things that you see and relate to that just feel like, I understand that, I have felt that myself, I recognize that in that character. So it was cool to sort of take Marybeth from beginning to end, because obviously who she is in the beginning of the sequel is not, who she is by the very end, which you hope you've got some interesting, journey to take. So I'd be curious to see with her, with her newfound revelation of what it is to serve justice, thanks to these guys defining it. I'd be curious to see what she now kind of thinks about moving forward.
Me too, because there was a lot of conflict of like, do I want to stay true to the system and do things the right way? Also, these guys are getting the job done their own way, and it's kind of more efficient. I'd like to see you go to the bad side. Just being personal. I'm not writing the script.
She's already dipped a toe, if not,
Yeah. I think she should just die. Dive right on it. You've also had your first fighting scene. Is it your very first fighting scene, or just the first fighting scene with the movie?
No, the first fighting scene in this world. I've wielded swords. I've fought in other ways, strangely, but this is the first time I've had something that felt like this is a kind of fight for your life, scrapping, hand-to-hand situation. And what's great about it, we had an incredible stunt department who laid this all out, but it was also, again, on the page. But what I loved is, instead of having a fight for fight's sake with, fancy choreography, it really is about the stakes of this situation and which of these women is gonna make it out of it alive, essentially. We've had the pleasure of seeing the movie a couple times with audiences, and what I love, I wasn't here to watch with you guys tonight, but, that moment where, she gets stabbed, it's like, when I heard people gasp, I was like, oh my God, you guys really care. They do not want Marybeth to go. That's lovely. But I think it's a testament to, you at this point, you are invested in the fate of these characters, and it is a big deal if somebody were to, go out like that. So I just think with their fighting styles, this is really about Marybeth's street smarts and instincts compared to this stone cold badass over here.
That was a perfect segue to the stone cold badass. Hello. You are so badass, so terrifying, so intriguing. Yes, let's clap it up. Thank you very much. Stay with me, guys. You know what it's like. So, your character doesn't have much dialogue.
No, it's awesome. I love a badass movie that has no dialogue.
But your
fucking
facial
awesome.
expressions spoke volumes. It sends chills. So how does that work preparing for that role? Do you create dialogue internally and then just follow it so it reflects on your face? Like what is that process like? What do you study?
Well, it was really hard because I'm someone who am working on this. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Whatever's on my mind just comes out of my mouth. Which isn't always beneficial, and it was definitely not for this character whatsoever, but it was great because I booked this part, and I was like, man, the whole movie's about me, I don't have to sing anything. I have to memorize lines, like, this is so dope. But also it was, actually my parents just saw the movie on tax day, and my my dad was like, I don't recognize you at all. This is the most unlike you I've ever seen. And I was like, yes. But it was hard. It was hard being still and being like predatory, you know. But it was a lot of fun, and you know, I hope that I get to murder a lot more child kidnappers and sex traffickers.
Yeah. Let's clap it up for that. Yes. For all of the fighting scenes that, and this is a question for all of you, but when you're getting trained for these fighting scenes, does this also translate to your real life? Like, do you feel like I'm gonna kick this person's ass, like, because I can? I'm projecting, because I just know that if I had that type of training, I'm like, what'd you say? You took my candy? You know what I mean? How does that, do you guys feel the same
I wish
way?
it would work that way. It's, unfortunately, you don't leave with the superpowers if you have to leave that in the trailer. But it is kind of, like I've heard Jon say this, and it's a very good metaphor. It's really like memorizing a dance, you know what I mean? So like I can leave that thing and I'm just not going to go out and kill it, you know, at the next line dancing bar or whatever it is. I do that one thing now because you have the benefit of being able to rehearse it in the steps. And fights are actually very similar. They're kind of these dances. And what I like about Gavin's movies and the stuff that all of these guys did in this movie was take the dancing, but like it doesn't look at all choreographed. Actually, the humanity is mostly what you see: the desperation, the fear. Sometimes as people are often afraid to make it sloppy, but that actually I think looks more like real life, and so it creates a sense of urgency in the audience. But I'm like maybe you guys all can like fight better now. I feel like I'm at the same level when I walked in.
If there is a third movie, or do we know that already, or do you want to break it?
It depends how many times the people in this room go to the Cynthia movie.
And we will, right? We're gonna buy more tickets, we're gonna go multiple times, and we're gonna tell our friends, for sure. So if there is a third movie, what part of your character's arc do you want to continue and like have explored? I personally, again, projecting, would love to know more about the woman that calls Christian Dreamboat and you guys' relationship, and if there's possibly a romantic, you know, situation there because she gives that stability and her stability. But I'm rambling, and we'll let you guys answer the question.
My answer's quick. You know, for me, I think in a way, the movies are kind of about relationships, and each one of them from the beginning was very, very difficult. And he really had no relationships and was very tentative. It's the second movie where he's clearly trying actively to pursue a relationship with his brother, pursue a relationship with, you know, romantic, get a girl's phone number. You know what I mean? I think like taking on a more continuous relationship that presents its own challenge would be an interesting thing to have the character deal with, as well as like an ongoing kind of deepening, almost partnership with his brother. Like, to me, that's the two natural extensions.
Who would you see that being with? Going from the love interest in the first
I
movie,
can't.
girl?
Come on now.
Okay.
I love.
Sorry, I'm trying to get the answer. I'm trying to get the
The
answer.
part that I will say that you know, I understand what like kind of didn't really fit in this movie, but the one thing I kind of missed was Anna and how great she was and wonderful in the first movie, so much part of it. So who knows? That's an interesting idea. That's something, you know, I don't know what she's doing, if she's available, so to speak. But there's a lot of, but you know, look, there's a lot of terrific actors. But it is that she like kind of like the experience I had with Jon and with Cynthia. It was just like where you feel like, oh, there's more to do. You know, I feel that way, but maybe I'm biased.
I mean, my answer's kind of the same. I think this was about coming together. I'd like to see what happens when they really are together, and maybe some semblance of like a super healthy relationship, and then watch that kind of break down a little bit. You know, I'd like to sort of see that. Yeah.
Nice.
I sort of answered it before, but I think, again, obviously, Marybeth now is sort of
Running shit.
seen the dark. And so it'd be interesting. I mean, at the end of the day, her MO really is she wants to see justice done and put bad guys away. And so if there's now a more efficient way of doing that, and she's sort of come around to that, then perhaps, you know, she can facilitate that.
Love that answer.
I just would want Anais to possibly meet up with her son again, if that's
Yes,
even if a child broke in her
yes.
body, I don't know. But that would be kind of cool.
Absolutely. Okay, we're gonna end on a lighter note, and we're gonna have a little lightning round. Okay, sounds good?
We don't have a choice, so I mean, whatever you say,
We really
we're gonna
don't.
do.
I took the stunt class before, and I can fight. So yes, we have to do it. Okay, first question: a bar fight breaks out. who on the cast are you calling for backup?
John.
Real. John, who are you calling?
In a bar fight?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna try to squash it and just say, let's just have a drink and just chill. I'm gonna fight in the bar.
There's a guy who's trying to line dance and he's getting in your way. Who from the cast?
Who from the cast what?
He's gonna help you.
It's like maybe the person that he needs help. You know what I'm saying? He's like, why would I call somebody
You
else?
got it on your own. You got it on your own.
No, I really would do whatever I could to not let that happen, and the last thing I would want to do is drag them into it.
That's a beautiful answer. That's such a great answer. Okay, yeah, that was good. That was good. What's your answer?
That's very sweet. I was going to drag everyone into it. I don't want to go it alone.
Power in numbers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Oh, I gotta answer?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. Pretty much anyone
Okay. In the movie, we see artwork as a form of payment. So if you weren't going to get paid for any of your future roles, what substitute would you like to be paid with?
Yours, I'm not an art expert by any means, but art that actually moves you, which is rare, but when it does, when it can, like, that's priceless. Like, if you could be surrounded by that, I'd choose that. But of course, what these guys said, and then that.
Those first, and then
Those
the art. Yes, the art you can also resell.
For me, nothing deep. You could pay me in commercial real estate.
Nice! And that's a great place to end. That was a beautiful, beautiful answer. Thank you guys all so much.
Thank
This was
you.
such
Thank you
a
very
wonderful
much.
film. I loved speaking with you. Thank you guys all
Thanks for
for
coming and watching.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Please get home.